your English podcast.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into sources you've shared about improving English speaking fluency, specifically looking at daily routines and, essential phrases like for shopping.
Exactly. And our mission really is to sift through this material and pull out the core insights. We want to show you how you can actually integrate effective language practice into your everyday life. Genuinely weave it in.
Absolutely. And a big theme, it seems, is just the power of routine. Sounds basic, maybe, but why is that daily structure so crucial for fluency, according to these sources?
Well, what's interesting is how that consistency helps automate things in the brain. It's less about a rigid schedule and more like building linguistic muscle memory. The sources really emphasize that these small regular efforts, they add up. They compound over time in a way that, occasional cramming just doesn't achieve.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Sort of the compound effect for language.
Mhm.
And the material gives actual practical tips for this, right? Like
Mm.
using a timer or a planner.
Yeah, exactly. Using a timer, using a planner, even just good old pen and paper to track things, it helps build that accountability.
Right.
And a really key point they highlight is where to begin. The advice seems to be don't jump straight into trying to speak complex sentences. Focus first on quality input. So, really listening, really reading, build that solid foundation of understanding first.
Okay, so input first, build the understanding. And then once you've got that base, the sources talk about this technique called listen and repeat.
Hmm.
How does that actually work?
It's pretty direct, actually. You listen to native speakers, could be from podcasts, audio clips, whatever, and then you immediately repeat what you heard. You're aiming to mimic everything, the words, the rhythm, the sounds.
And the benefits seem quite significant based on what we read. What kind of improvements are we talking about here?
Well, the sources point to quite a few things. It apparently speeds up memorization quite a bit because you're engaging different parts of your brain. It boosts confidence, definitely, lets you practice pronunciation without pressure.
Mm.
And it really sharpens your listening comprehension. You start picking up on those nuances, the speed of natural speech, things you might otherwise miss.
And intonation, getting the sort of music of English right.
Precisely. That's a big one. It helps you internalize the correct intonation, the stress patterns, makes your own speech sound much more natural. Plus, it helps automate your speech, reduces hesitation because you're training your mouth and brain to work together faster. And it builds your auditory memory too, holding on to sounds and phrases. One source mentions seeing noticeable reductions in speaking pauses within weeks, just doing this maybe 10-15 minutes a day.
Wow, that point about automating speech and cutting down pauses, that really hits home. It's not just sounding perfect, it's about sounding smoother, more fluent. And the sources said this is backed up by research and people's own experiences.
Yeah, both. And it's flexible, something you can do while walking, commuting, fitting it into existing habits.
Which brings us back to routine, doesn't it?
Exactly. Making it stick long term.
Okay, so moving from that foundational practice, the material also talks about applying English in like real world situations.
Mm-hmm.
Shopping and transactions came up a lot. Why focus there?
Well, because they're so common, right? High-frequency interactions you're almost certain to encounter. If you can handle buying something, that's immediately useful. And the emphasis in the sources is on using simple, functional language, not getting bogged down in complex stuff, just being understood.
Communication first.
Hmm.
Makes sense. So what are some examples? Give us a taste of those essential phrases.
Sure. We're talking basics like how much does this cost? Obvious, but essential. Or maybe, do you have another size? If you're clothes shopping, can I try this on?
Right.
For paying, you definitely need, do you accept credit cards? And maybe afterwards, what are your return policies? Or just finding your way around. Where can I find the electronics section? Things like that. Simple tools for common tasks.
Yeah. Focusing on those feels way less overwhelming, more achievable, gives you those quick wins.
And those wins build confidence, which just fuels more practice. It's a positive cycle.
Okay, so pulling it all together then, from what we've seen in the sources you shared, building that consistent daily routine is key. Using powerful techniques like listen and repeat for efficient practice, and then zeroing in on practical language like those shopping phrases. They seem like really concrete steps you can take, like right now, to boost your fluency.
Yeah, it boils down to disciplined practice, targeted effort, and finding ways to apply it immediately.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive. Look at your day today. How could you take just one of these ideas, maybe one phrase to listen and repeat during your commute, or one shopping phrase to practice in your head and actually integrate it, starting right now?
What's that one small step you can take today?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.